So today we knew it was not going to be good down in the southwest. So we thought we'll do, the first sector was down in the southwest, we thought we'll do the minimum that we can in that. And then we'll go back to the romping weather in East Anglia that we know we're going to get, that when we were taking off, or before we were taking off, it was looking lovely over there. So we thought we'll do the minimum there, and then we've got a really big sector we'll go into and until we're about right, and then we can adjust it in the final sector. That was the plan. What actually happened, of course, was that the weather was appalling. We nearly landed twice, headed out for the first sector, nearly landed this side of St Neots, and again at Cranfield. We took quite a long look, not on the approach, you understand, but to one side of Cranfield before we managed to get up into the first sector. And what you try and do, because the wind is blowing us back out down our second leg, so what you do is you go in until you find a cloud that you think you can climb under, you climb under that and you're now being drifted. Going into wind, it's really critical not to stop in anything other than really good climbs, otherwise in 20 knots plus headwind you're going backwards. Once you're going downwind, it's much easier. You can afford to explore more, which was good because there were big areas that it just wasn't soarable. Big bits of the sky that you had to sort of park up a bit until you could see where you could go next. And that's what we did, drifting gently down. Obviously we were very slow, so we thought, okay, all we need to do is clip the second sector, but there was some prohibited airspace, Chatteris parachute zone, that we can't go into one way, so we ended up moving so that we were just being drifted just by the wind alongside it, climbing very slowly. You wouldn't normally take the climb, but there was no downside. Just clipped the sector as high as that climb would take us, and just had enough height. Came via Ely, couldn't really find anything there. Just managed to clip the second sector, headed back. There was a little street we thought might do something for us with some nice fields underneath, but we'd already been down low enough we couldn't fire the turbo twice, and I said I wasn't going to do it a third time. And when we came under the street and couldn't find anything that worked, whilst we still had good fields there, we fired the motor up and came home.
It was a bit of a disaster, really. I had a good run into Milton Keynes, and it was 8:08, dark. There was a street there that looked like it was working. I was lower than I should have been. I should have taken a climb. And then I thought, no, it's working. That street's working. Looks, I could see another glider come back out the street, open class glider, which probably told me that the conditions were very poor ahead. I did comment to my P2 about that. So, no, the street's going to work. It's going to work. This is going to be no problem. Flew into the turn point, rained on me. Washed me out of the sky. I was in a grovel mode, and then it just got just all went wrong. So fired up the donkey and then flew the rest of the task, and that was really easy, and I really enjoyed the flying. It's such a shame because part B of the flight was great fun, and I think I probably did quite a reasonable distance, but anyway, it's a nice day out there and I enjoyed it. And yet again, met absolutely spot on. It was very good queue.
Well, we got going as soon as we could because we weren't sure what was going to happen to the weather, and as you see, it didn't play ball, and we went round, just nicked in the edge of the westerly sector, and that went okay. On the way down to Marham, which was more or less where we turned for the next turning point, we did have a few low points. We found it a bit of a struggle. We got the cycle all wrong. And then we went around Marham. Just before Marham, picked up a nice street, took the street back north again, went to the east of Lakenheath and to nearly Thetford. Well, Thetford was probably the nearest point. And it was all okay up to that point. But then once we turned Thetford, and so we struggled to come back, and we ended up with a really quite low point at Bury St Edmunds. But then we climbed away from that, got up to 3,000, got us back to a street, and that gave us just enough for a very marginal glide back into here.
Okay, well, I decided to start the moment the start gate opened. I actually arrived at the start line too early, and I had to sort of just wobble down the line, just waiting for it to open. As soon as the notification came on the radio, I just turned left over the start line. I really expected everybody else to come heaving after me, and I was absolutely gobsmacked that they didn't. And then I met Andy partway down the first leg, so I thought, I've either aced it or screwed it up big time. I'm still not sure which one I did, I really didn't think I was going to get back. The day looked completely dead. I was 2,000 foot under glide, and but miraculously managed to find a couple of little climbs. One was marked by a duo, which ultimately used his engine, but it just gave me just a little bit of impetus to push on. You could see ahead that there was a good line of energy for the last 25k, and indeed we worked it up to 1,400 foot above glide, and then lost all but 500 foot of it on the way home. It was just down, down, down all the way home. So it felt quite precarious in that wind, because you never know what's going to happen in the last 500 feet. Although your computer says you've got 500 foot in hand, my experience is 500 foot disappears very, very quickly. In that last 500 foot, if you find a hole in the air, you can just, before you know it, you can just be down on the ground. So yeah, I was very, very pleased to get back. Took way over time. Probably, I don't know how long it took, but I just think it took 4.5 hours for the 3.5 hour task, to speed of 65 kph. But I'm really happy to get back. Very happy to get back, because I was dead and buried really, and I managed to pull it back at least to get home. So it won't be very fast, but we'll see. I haven't looked at the scores yet. See how good it was.
James is the owner.
Well, he's the driver.
See these things?
It's tea.
They're well earned. We've worked really hard today. So
Kim is what we call our TCP. He's known as the top competition pilot.
which means nothing to me.
So Kim's been doing the flying, and Robert Verdier and I have been doing the ballasting from the back seat and making the commentary as we go. And poor old Kim was sitting in the front there, grinding away. And today was a hell of a day. Tell us how it was, Kim.
I don't know. It was 6 hours of... I've had harder flights, but not many. Yeah, and I've done 35 years of flying, and I think that was one of those top 5 tough flights. And we got, I don't know how many, we had 6 hours, a 3.5 hour assigned area, and we ended up flying for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So we got stuck out in the overcast and just grinding away in 1 knot, 2 knots. It's just hard work, and we got to within.
Didn't get any help from anybody until we started getting very low, around about sort of the Thetford area. Had a skirt around the danger area, got knocked down, knocked back, climbed up, knocked back, and then we thought we were home, but then we weren't. So, yeah.
So that was it. That's the story of the day. And I've got another phone call.
But Kim's a hero.